how do you intend to gain possession of this land that you want, and how do you intend to get there?
It's a contribution that the black man made in this country, which amounts to 310 years of slave labor, for which we have never been given a dime or a cent, places a burden upon the American white man today, for which the government should pay. Since we cannot live in peace together, mixed up on this continent, the alternative to that solution is to divide a separate part of this country into which our people can migrate, and in which the government again should supply us with the machinery and the tools necessary to establish our own independent society and our own independent country. And in this way, it will be creating a solution that the black man himself, our people, ourselves, can bring about if we have that capability. And for your clarification, because this has been brought up, some people say, well, why should the government do this? If this government can send billions of dollars to communist countries like Poland and Yugoslavia, and to neutralist countries in Asia and Africa, who have never made any contribution whatsoever to the sum net worth of this economy and country, and at the same time, this government feels that it is too much to set about something real to solve the problem for the slaves who made a greater contribution even than your people did, why the government doesn't even deserve to continue to function as a government.
What land is available that's not already possessed by others?
When you came to this country, the land was inhabited by the Indians, and you didn't have any problem then.
Free the land, battle cry in our freedom call. Political prisoners in the system, we say free them all. You hear the call, haters never wanna see you ball. But I'm a freedom fighter, I just wanna see them fall. Standing tall, cause we trapped in the system. They slapped us in prison, just a part of capitalism. I'm a revolutionary, I adapt to the system. I ain't playing with y'all haters, I come strapped when I kick them.
Black fist in the air as we walk through the door, representing Malcolm X and Assata Shakur. Queen Mother Moore, Batula, Shakur. Fight to free the land is what we doing it for. The struggle, the leader, for Huey, Mamiya, Garvey Fred Hampton, General Hamisha, Grandmaster Teacher, he's blasting y'all, you're gonna feel it. The voices of New Africa.
Free the land.
These are voices of New Africa.
Free the land.
These are voices of New Africa.
Free the land.
These are voices of New Africa.
Free the land.
These are voices of New Africa.
Free the land.
These are voices of New Africa.
Free the land.
These are voices of New Africa.
Free the land.
These are voices of New Africa.
Free the land.
These are voices of New Africa.
Free the land.
We got to have thinkers that are going to direct us in terms of how we're going to be able to achieve the goal of liberation throughout the world. We have the same problem. That is neo-colonialism. We have no control over any area in which we live. Matter of fact, we have been diminished, and all of those things have happened under the American system of capitalism. That's why we're saying we want to break away and create our own, and have our own self-government, and have our own control over our lives.
You're listening to the Voices of New Africa, where we educate the uneducated and re-educate the miseducated. Free the land.
And we are back here at the Voices of New Africa, the show where we educate the uneducated and re-educate the miseducated. I'm your host, Brother Prophecy. And of course, I'm riding with my comrade, the one and only. We've been off a couple of weeks, but we're back. Comrade Fadali, how you doing, Elder?
I'm doing as great as I can under these terrible conditions under which we live in the world. Capitalism and imperialism and colonialism and neo-colonialism are at our throats. As a people, we must begin to understand that our battles are just beginning, and we are going to ultimately win. We are ultimately going to overthrow all these forces being perpetrated by the Western world, by the so-called NATO forces, and by the unmistakably the United States of America, the greatest monster of all, that is aiding and abetting tiny states like Israel to perpetuate a third war. And so we're already in the perpetuation of World War III, because they're doing everything they possibly can to grab everything they can from our people everywhere that we are, and all oppressed people.
Definitely. And you said a couple of things, like you said, basically we are under attack, and we have been under attack. But you named a few forces that I think a lot of people are not necessarily familiar with. You talked about capitalism, you talked about imperialism, you talked about what else you talked about? But these are systems, and a lot of people are confused because when they think of an enemy, they think of, oh, we're against the white man or white people or whatever, that may be. But when you have a higher level of understanding about what you're up against, is what you need to do. You need to understand concretely what your enemy is, who your enemy is, and what you're up against. Kind of explain that. What is our true enemy? Who is our true enemy? Is it just the white man? Is it the dude that's down the street that don't like you because you're black? Is it the Ku Klux Klan? Is it something bigger than just that?
Okay, so there are no individual forces. I'm talking about even white man or white men that we're trying to attack. As you said, we're doing a system. We're going against a system. This system has perpetuated things such as racism and all other things that we do fight individually on some level. But this is not these are not the enemies. The enemy is the systems that have been created, and the capitalist system, the economic system, for the benefit of the few that have basically allowed the circumstances and taking the wealth of the people and the wealth of the world. And so therefore, when we say imperialism, we say in the form of capitalism that has combined together, where the European states that were created under the capitalist system have begun to collaborate, and therefore they're collaborating together. And in 1884, 1885, they took the biggest takeover of all time, that is the continent of Africa, and all the mining and all the things that are taking place in Africa today is a result of their takeover of the continent of Africa. But prior to that, you had the going into Africa and kidnapping slaves and created slavery systems in the West, what they call the West, what they call referred to as the West, in North America and South America and the Caribbean, places like that, where their wealth was built, and that wealth was the wealth of the European states became built where they could go out and conquer the whole world, basically. They even conquered China, even in other areas, in Asia and in Africa and South America, and all of these places were conquered by their ability to basically create a system by which they were able to create weapons of war and weapons of warfare, and they're still in control of those weapons of warfare today. And then we have certain transformations that happen, but slavery still remains. Neo-colonialism, even when they supposedly had taken themselves out of these countries, they left forces in that look just like us, who are just like the oppressed people, who are collaborating with them at this time right now that we see. And we call that neo-colonialism. And the neo-colonialists have been the biggest enemies of the people in Africa and South America and places like that, because they are collaborating and continue to let their wealth is still going and pouring in to the West. And we see Donald Trump becoming a master of the West in terms of going back into the African continent to take over the wealth, and to even to dismantle the neo-colonial relationship that they were having with those nations such as Rwanda and all that, so that they can his family personally get well, and the European nations are still basically following the U.S. and the U.S. The U.S. claim to claim was that it had no colonies, in Africa, and it had no colonies in all these places, but the United States was aiding and abetting the colony making, and and taking hold of wealth out of the mines, of thousands of mines that are in places like the Congo and in places like South Africa. So these are the kind of things that we talk about when we say these systems, and we cannot allow ourselves to be thinking that all we got to do is wipe out this white individual or this white group of individuals, or this white there's a system link that the West has been created to basically keep themselves in power, and to keep war going on. And anytime that there's any forces that say that they're socialist or anti-capitalist, we see these forces all coming together to eliminate anything that seems to be a threat to what they call the capitalist system.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of important points that you just made there. One thing that we have to understand, why, as you talked about during the Berlin Conference, when they carved up Africa and implemented these systems of colonialism, and now even today with neo-colonialism, black or white power with a black face on it, you have to understand that Africa is not the poor continent that they tell us it is. Africa is filled with wealth, with true wealth. Africa has, the most oil, the most minerals, the most gold, the most uranium, the most everything, the things in which these Western powers have used to basically taking over the world. And even when we move into this new era of technology and technological advancement, the very resources that are needed in order to power the next generation of technology and the next multi-billion-dollar corporations are actually found in Africa. All of these things are found in Africa. So that's why understanding these very systems and what the purpose is. The purpose has really never been, I don't like you because you're black, therefore I'm going to oppress you. The purpose has always been, I need the resources in your land. I need the resources of your labor. I want to control and I want to exploit those things. And that has been the reason for the brutality. That is the reason for this white supremacist ideology, not because they actually believe that they're superior to us. The whole idea of somebody being superior to us, I believe in that is contradicted by themselves, because they systematically do things to hold us back, to prevent us from excelling. So if you think you're superior, why would you ever do things to try to hold somebody back that you think you're superior to? So that contradicts itself. So that it was never about believing that they were superior. It was about maintaining a power dynamic so they can gain control over the wealth, the resources, the land, and the labor, and maintain dominance and hegemony over the entire world. And they've done this through the systems in which they were created. So therefore, if we do not destroy the systems, then nothing really changes. We can have a Barack Obama in office and we be hooray, hooray, we got a black president, we've made it, and still nothing changes. In fact, you have a regression happening, these type of things happening. You can get a Donald Trump in office and say, oh, all these things that you think you gained, which we really didn't gain with this so-called DEI, with a strike of a pen, we can just get rid of them. So what we have to do, we have to understand, is we have to deal with this on a systemic thing. We have to change the very system, and we have to understand the very systems, because a lot of times we've been educated to and indoctrinated into the ideology of the system. believing that these very systems that are working against us are the things that are helping us. But in fact, they're like having a parasitic relationship with us, and it's sucking the very blood and the lifeline off of us. And basically, in order for us to really remedy the situation and really to find true liberation, true freedom, then we have to create something different. And that's what we're doing. That's why we're here at the Republic of New Africa. That's why we're that's what the voices of New Africa are telling us. We have to do something different. In order to gain something different, we have to do something different. And I want to give a big shout out to everybody out there who checked in. Big shout out to Miss Sade. She said, "Hi, how you doing, Queen? Good to hear from you." To Hammy, how you doing? Free the land, you. I am, I will, by any means necessary. Hope you two are doing well. We like my comrade said, we're doing as well as we can be doing under these systems and these conditions that we are facing. But that's why we are here to fight and change these systems and change these conditions. But we always like to start the show off with this little segment called Around the World in Black Again.
Live from Ida B. Wells City, spanning from Africa, Asia, all the way to the United States of America. This is Around the World in Black Again. It's the news, y'all, what's going on? It's the news, y'all, what's going on? It's the news, y'all, what's going on? It's the news, y'all, what's going on?
All right, and Around the World in Black Again. So just recently, Donald Trump has sent troops, National Guard's troops, to Washington, D.C. Now, basically to take over Washington, D.C., because according to him, Washington wasn't doing enough about the crime. The crime is out of control, and they got to do something to put crime, put these criminals, quote, in check. Although when we look at the statistics, crime is down by quite a bit in Washington, D.C. compared to other years. So a lot of people said, well, this is just his attempt to really, you look at it as an attack on the Black community, because historically politicians and presidents have used certain policies to attack the Black community. When you look at the war on crime, the war on poverty, the war on drugs, all of these things were used to attack the Black community, and ultimately to the crime bill when Bill Clinton was in office. All of these things were to attack crime, but they actually attacked the Black community, and it led to the explosion in the mass incarceration of Black men and women and youth, to tell the truth. So also, not only did he send troops, National Guard troops, but there were several other states, including Tennessee, which sent troops, and I think Tennessee sent like 160 troops there to assist. And, this just looks like a program that is going to spread, because he already mentioned other cities that he was planning on doing this to, like Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, and others. And the thing they have in common is all of these cities have high Black populations. They're ran by Black mayors. And if you combine that with other actions in which he's done, like the attack on the Smithsonian Institute for being too Black, for being too quote unquote woke, and saying that you're talking about slavery too much, you're talking about these bad things that white people have done too much, and you need to stop talking about that. You really get a picture of, something that's been happening, but he's just more obvious with it that, it's been an attack on our community. But like I said, that's not anything new. You have any perspective you want to add or talk about that?
Okay, so when we talk about, like these things, then we have to understand, particularly that in America, you still have the Confederate States of America in the so-called South, and the so-called 11 states or something that succeeded from the Union, and prior to the Civil War, and so the fight is still being fought in these areas to stay in control, in white people in Mississippi staying in control of Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee. Think about these situations where, and what's happening is that as we begin to get more knowledge of the history of the country, the true history of the country, and the true contribution that have been made by the slaves and by the people who were like under Jim Crow, and by the people who are in prison right now as a result of the 13th Amendment that is allowing people to be enslaved in prison because of what they call crimes. And these crimes are, are still the major source of prisons population, and so consequently, when we talk about that, when we look at that whole situation, and we see that nothing really has changed in terms of the condition in these states, and so really though, this is a distraction from the real true condition of the country. In other words, to talk about crime, to talk about drugs, to talk about all those things, those symptoms of the problems that has been existing in America since the beginnings of America. And so consequently, I think what we have to do is get people to begin to understand that this is a distraction that he is making in terms of having soldiers in Washington, D.C., just the same way he did in Los Angeles. And so therefore, because he has a troubling administration, his administration is troubled about a lot of things that are going on because they're not going the way that he has predicted on any of the so-called problems that he thought he was going to solve. And this the latest thing is dealing with the fact that he's on that list, that of men messing with girls, that what you call Epstein had been sent to jail for. And this woman is spending 25 to 45 years, that was supposedly helping Epstein. And so consequently, even in his group, because he made a promise that he was going to give information about Epstein, about all the things that affairs of Epstein and who are being involved in that. And he's in the center of that because he was a Epstein friend for about 50, at least 25 years, I know. So therefore, we see that, and so this may be a good sign because the more trouble that he's creating for himself in this, the more he is maybe getting even people who voted him to look at him at real and begin to do in other words, protest against him or whatever. And maybe this may create some kind of crisis because we do need a crisis in terms of Trump, because look at what Trump is doing in terms of Israel and Palestine and things like that, and how he's seizing control of money from colonies in Africa, Congo, and places like that. And his family is getting enriched, continue to get. Of course, this is the same thing that happened the first time that he was elected. Yeah. That they were able to enrich themselves, and so the more we see the failures of his program, the more desperate we will see him trying to do those things that may put him out. Hopefully, will put him out of office. Hopefully, we'll do something that would also help the world, because he has created a condition in the world by which the European states are following his lead and allowing genocide to continue in Gaza and throughout the world. There's genocide all over Africa and Sudan and places like that in Congo. And there's no way to stop genocide because they are supporting the main perpetrator of genocide. That is Israel. So the United States and Israel standing together along with NATO and the Western countries to allow Israel to eliminate the Palestinians. So I think this is what we're talking about here. But I think we should go further on away from just looking at this one particular individual, but looking at that there is some fight back that is taking place, that we're going to talk about, and that is in reference to the states of Niger,
the states
Mali.
But before we get to that, I get to that before that. But one, I want to give a shout out to our sister Atwater, just checking in. She said, "Greeting, my brother. Greetings, Queen. Good to see you. Matter of fact, I need to holler at you. I've been meaning to holler at you for a while, and I'm so sorry. I should have got in contact with you a lot earlier than this. But speaking of Sister Atwater, because she's heading this campaign against something that's going on right here in Ida Wells City, Memphis, Tennessee, because they're trying to open up. Speaking of crime and how they've used crime as a justification to mass incarcerate our brothers and sisters, they're trying to build a new prison here in area African community called
New Chicago.
Yeah, New Chicago, and it's been a lot of pushback, a lot of protests. And this sister, matter of fact, the sister who just spoke to us has been big has been really the head of the resistance movement of that, because basically there are a lot of things that are needed right here in Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis, Tennessee is full of poverty, is full of a lot of things, not a lot of things for youth to get into a lot of productive things. And the general, understanding is that instead of investing in prisons, why don't we invest in people? Why don't we invest in the youth so we can prevent the actual crime and not just simply respond to the crime by locking people up? Matter of fact, check in with us, Sister Atwater, because I understand that she had there was an action, a protest against that very thing yesterday, and I wasn't able to attend. But what's your perspective on this whole new prison and the resistance that is being
okay? So like I say, these communities, which are New Chicago, was once a vibrant community of Africans in Memphis, and and everywhere, and also in South Memphis, what's our billionaire that's basically trying to ruin South Memphis. We should join, all of those forces should join together, and hopefully all join together so that we can fight against taking over our community and making conditions, worsening conditions in our community, rather than supporting programs that are already in the community that are trying to solve the problems in the community. And that is joblessness and homelessness and all these things that are happening in our community in Memphis. And Memphis is one of the cities in the country that you have, the majority, vast majority African, and even the whole of Shelby County is a majority population of Africans. And so, and we have two black mayors that are neither doing nothing, that are not, either doing, in other words, there's a lot of talk, but there's no walk in their movement. And so therefore, like we got people like Kanita Atwater, who has been basically fighting, virtually by herself in her own community, and has been having programs in New Chicago to try with the youth in New Chicago, and until we support these individuals in terms of what they're things and the objectives that they're trying to uphold, and hopefully we'll get somebody in these positions, get rid of these neo-colonialists that we talked about earlier. Because if we don't do that, then we will not be able to change anything. And we're saying we are revolutionary. Then what revolution is about change, and it's about absolute change. It's about transformation of a community. And this is what we should be doing here in Memphis, Tennessee. And hopefully we'll be able to link up with Sister Atwater.
Yeah, definitely. No doubt. Big matter of fact, she responded. She said, there will be no apartheid in the new Chicago community. I got them. And sister, we got your back. Definitely. You don't even know how strong you got your back yet. But you're gonna find out, Queen. Big shouts out to Brother Obafemi. How you doing out of Arkansas? How you doing? Good to hear from you, brother. Good, powerful brother. Part of a Koumba creativity, music rap group, who be laying it down and do a lot of positive, great things in the African community down there in Arkansas. So, man, good to hear from you. Good to, hear from you checking in. And anybody out there, drop us a line. Let us know, you out there so we can shout you out and we can have this conversation. And I heard what you said, Brother Hammond. I'm holding off from that because you opening up a can of worms with that topic right there. And I do want to get to it. I got a lot to say, but I want to wait to the right time. Anything else? You was telling me about and you mentioned this earlier about Trump basically doing something with the Congo, holding off explain that story, what was going on with
Trump. So in the Congo has millions, has thousands of mines of most valuable metals in the world, and the Congo is the biggest place, is one of the biggest places, along with South Africa, that have thousands of mines. And Congo has been under virtual civil war, from forces, not only from forces inside the Congo, but from Rwanda and other states around it, trying to deliver that gold to the Europeans, and even that Israel has received portions of wealth that came from Congo through Uganda, and so therefore, so there has been a battle, and particularly from Rwanda coming into invading the Congo to try to get a share of that. Those metals, get the wealth out of Congo. And Donald Trump earlier this year supposedly announced some kind of so-called peace treaty that he engineered to stop Rwanda from going in, but basically that didn't work. And so often what Donald Trump has done, he's shut Rwanda down in order to get the wealth himself. In other words, to set up an agreement to pull out of those mines, all the wealth that he can for his family, so when you think about the Congo, you go back to 1884 when the king of Belgium basically took over the Congo, when the Europeans met in Berlin in 1884, 1885, well, the King of England grabbed hold to that, what the place is called the Congo today. And over 12 million people died during the king's reign. And the Belgian government took over the Congo and basically basically multinational corporations from all over the world came through Belgium to go to set up mines to pull out the wealth out of Congo. And Patrice Lumumba became the leader of the revolutionary forces in the Congo to basically take over the control of the Congo. And he was assassinated by the USA CIA in 1961 when Kennedy became president. This was under Eisenhower, but the assassination was performed under John F. Kennedy when he became president. So therefore, since that time, there has been a battle of forces, and this is the first time you can really see neo-colonialism at work. Called Joseph Mobutu became the president of the Congo, and he became a billionaire, richest one of the richest Africans in the world, as a result of his pulling out and his supporting the Europeans being able to pull out their wealth. And so when eventually he died, he had a civil war.
And we look like we got some technical difficulty. Our comrade just froze up. Matter of fact, let me see what we can do. Try to get my comrade back. It's just us two here. So what can I play to we'll be right back. I'm gonna go to like a little interlude, and I'm gonna see if I can get my comrade back on the line. This is the Voices of New Africa, Free the Land. Y'all stay tuned. We got a lot more in store.
Mississippi is still a very rough place. People is not just walking up like they used to do in the past, walking out, shooting a man down or getting maybe 200 or 300 people carrying you out and lynching you, but it's in a more settled way. They can let you starve to death, not give you jobs. These are some of the things that's happening right now in Mississippi. See, Mississippi is not actually Mississippi's problem. Mississippi is America's problem. Because if America wanted to do something about what has been going on in Mississippi, it could have stopped by now. It wouldn't have been in the past few years between 40 and 50 churches bombed and burned. You see, and this lead me to say, all of the burning and bombing that was done to us and the houses, nobody never said too much about that, and nothing was done. But let something be burned, by a black man, and then, my God, you see, the flag is drenched with our blood. Because, you see, so many of our ancestors was killed because we have never accepted slavery. We had to live on it, but we've never wanted it. So we know that this flag is drenched with our blood. So what the young people are saying now, give us a chance to be young men, respected as a man. As we know, this country was built on the black backs of black people across this country. And if we don't have it, you ain't gonna have it either, because we gonna tear it up. That's what they saying. And people ought to understand that. I don't see why they don't understand that. They know what they've done to us. All across this country, they know what they've done to us. This country is desperately sick, and man is on the critical list. I really don't know where we go from here.
That was Fannie Lou Hamer, and I got my comrade back. Matter of fact, we're gonna let you finish up your point, and then we're gonna go to some of the comments.
Yes,
people checking in.
And that was a great African woman.
Yes, Fannie Lou Hamer,
Black Power advocate, as well as the Civil Rights Act. But she was a Black Power advocate.
Mm-hmm.
For us to become, get our power So, but basically, what I'm saying is that the Congo since 1884 has been under control of forces outside of itself, and once it did get its so-called independence, and I think its independence was in 1959. It basically had assassination after assassination, and Mobutu became the power in that country and became a billionaire, and basically had property in Belgium and France, all over Europe before he died. and before he was really pushed out. Then so now you've had all these forces. So now Donald Trump has come in and has taken over basically the process of getting that money, continue to get that money out of the Congo. And there are thousands of mines in the Congo, and all of them are wealthy. And the European companies and things are still withdrawing their wealth out of what we call the Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo. And and now we got Donald Trump has placed himself in front of all of that to draw more wealth out of it than any of the other companies and countries that are basically in that country. So therefore, this is what we are talking about in terms of what has to happen. This is where we see the war. Basically, there is a world war, and that world war is going back in and taking over. But we wanted to talk about further how three countries are now trying, and we will talk about that, the three countries that are in Africa now that are fighting against and have combined together to kick out those forces out of there. But the Congo is a country that they are still taking their wealth, and the United States has decided it's going to go and take the lion's share of that wealth.
Definitely a lot to unpack with that. In a second, we're going to get to your comments, because we got a lot of powerful people out there chiming in. Big shouts out to our sister Daniel. How you doing? Good to hear from you. Long time supporter. And I got good news. Our comrade and our brother Atiba, he coming back, y'all. He gonna be back on these airways again, and he getting some things set up. But yeah, he made a comment on Fannie Lou Hamer. This definitely, I echo these sentiments. Fuck the red, white, and blue. Definitely, I co-sign 1,000%. But yeah, you was talking about the Congo, and man, the Congo has a quite interesting history, because not only is it like one of the richest lands in the world as far as when it comes to minerals and natural resources. I mean, it has a history. You talked about Belgium, and people always talk about how bad Hitler was a bad dude, and I'm not saying that he wasn't a bad dude, but it's a guy over there within the Congo named King Leopold, which they call him the so-called great civilizer, and he murdered, how many people did Leopold murder?
12 million.
12 million. And he had a practice. He had this a practice where any soldier, you could not waste a bullet. If you used a bullet, you had to have a life connected with it. So if you used a bullet, you had to bring back a hand. I think a right hand, left hand, I can't remember which one, but you had to bring back a hand to account for each bullet that you use. So if a soldier used a bullet and it missed or shot or whatever, how it may be, what they would do is they would go out and they would cut somebody's hand off. And he usually was a child. That's why you have all of these awful pictures of children in the Congo with one hand. This is a vicious practice, and this is all because of the exploitation of one of the wealthiest nations ever, and you're still seeing the residuals of that today. Everywhere you see in Africa where there is conflict, there's also a vast amount of natural resources. And fortunately, a lot of the leadership are finally, trying to get back together. And I can't say finally because, we've had, as you talked about, Patrice Lumumba, we've had great leaders, Sankara, and so many others. But every time that the leadership in Africa has stood up and tried to do what's right for the African people, they have been met with a brutal attack from Kwame Nkrumah all the way up to Gaddafi. And so we can't just, it's easy to look down on the leadership of Africa, but basically they were given a choice, you know, you can become rich and exploit your at the expense of your own people, or we can do the same thing that we did to Patrice Lumumba, to, you know, and all the rest of the great African leaders. But there is, you know, look like some hope, some things going on with the Union and the Alliance of the Sahel, with these Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. And this young brother, Ibrahim Traoré, which is inspiring the entire world. These are all pan-African, believing in that Africa should unite, and unite not only, you know, military-wise, you know, just unity, but, you know, resources, minerals, and whatnot. And you got the results of the July 4th meeting, right? You want to update us on what happened on July 4th?
Yes. On July the 4th, Burkina Faso, Niger, some people say Niger, and Mali came together and with forces throughout the world, and they have combined themselves, and they're going to one great leader of the civil rights movement and the Pan-African movement, Mukasa Willie Ricks, who was the one that praised Black Power, you know, framed it in the term Black Power, because it was in the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, it was just that power for Black people. But on the march from Memphis to Jackson, Mississippi, Black Power slogan was coined by Willie Ricks, now Willie Mukasa Ricks, and Mukasa Ricks has now been named as an ambassador to Burkina Faso, and he said that they've come together and they've done, you know, and they've shut the doors for the oppression that had been going on so long in terms of the mines and things, gold mines that's in Burkina Faso, and my brother here has told me about how they have been trying to attack that, you know, the leader, by trying to say he was taking money from the people and that, and now, you know, they even had some UN people. So he has shut those UN forces out, making all these false claims, and so therefore we're seeing these three countries come together, and they're trying to link other countries throughout the continent of Africa, so that Africa began to be united and fight against this exploitation that's continuing right now. And so hopefully, in countries like the Congo and may join, and South Africa may join, you know, and we'll see some kind of unity in the community in Africa, and we must ourselves here inform ourselves about what's going on, so that we can get the information out throughout the world.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a big part of this equation about our liberation is really the unity between Africans here and really all over the diaspora in the continent. You know what I'm saying? Because like you said, Africa not poor. The people are poor, and the people are poor because of conditions placed upon them. Not the poverty in Africa is not indigenous. It's not natural. It is man-made. It is created and is based on the exploitation of our people by these blood-sucking Europeans who basically have gained billions and billions off of our people's natural wealth and natural resources. But I do want to get to some of these comments, because we got an active chat room right now. I'm gonna come to Sister Atwater, and we're gonna have to invite you on the show, Sister Atwater, so you can give us the details exactly about what you're going. This sister is running for governor, you know, so she's running for governor. So, you know, we definitely want to support her in every way possible. But she's talking about the attempt to bring a prison to New Chicago, and she said, you know, they should be focusing on preventive and intervention measures, conflict resolution, anger management, workforce development, mental illness, drug addiction counseling, cultural enhancement, economic genocide, housing, I can't even talk right. Taxation without representation, political corruption, judicial and criminal genocide, etc. We are at war with or without our participation. It is time to fight. Exactly. It is definitely time to fight. It's been time to fight. We should have been fighting a long time ago. And really, we have been fighting. We just can't give up the fight. You know, it's ups and downs within this struggle because we're a part of a protracted struggle. We're not going to win our liberation, not our real liberation overnight. So, but I co-sign with that. You also said, brother, watch my move at the Shelby County Commission tomorrow at 3 p.m. I'm bringing to them a Memphis Black agenda which will be powerful demands. Okay, all right. So we got to stay tuned on that. And like I said, you know, I'm gonna give you an open invitation. Come to the show and talk about everything that you're trying to do, and we can get the words out. Definitely get the word out and co-sign, say them blood sucking dogs. definitely no doubt. Also, you put like Fannie Lou Hamer was a powerful sister. We need some Fannie Lou Hamer now, but these folks are too scary. They scared. The price of freedom is death. Yeah, and that's the thing about it. You know, you got to be willing to die. Nothing if and I think Martin Luther King might have said this. He said, if you have nothing that you're willing to die for, then you're not living a life worth living. You know? So you gotta have something that is strong enough, that you feel passionate enough, that you're willing to lay your life down. And the thing for us people who understand the conditions and what has happened to our people, the genocide that is still being occurring right now to this very moment, you know, we understand that, like we got to change this by any and all means necessary. We got to change our condition, and that means doing what Brother Martin did, doing what Malcolm did, doing what Nat Turner did, being able to sacrifice themselves in order to create a better future and a better reality for our people and our children and the next generations. Then that's just what we got to do. We got to be willing to do it, and if more people are willing to do that, then we won't have to sacrifice as much. You know what I'm saying? We will be able to apply more pressure to this system of oppression and you know, because when you look at the landscape, you look at the world, we are moving into a changing world. This is a time of change. Paradigms are shifting. We got to make sure that we stay on top of the shift, because they see the new wave, the new vibe, the new things that's going on. And one way that this power structure has maintained for so many centuries is when they see a shift. Instead of, you know, you have some that fight the shift, but then you have others who jump on top of it. And they make sure that whatever the new thing comes, it doesn't mess up what they're trying to do, their game. And their game is to make sure that they control the world's wealth, resource, and power, you know, for a hand few people, few individuals. They want to maintain that, and they, you know, and that's what they're doing. A lot of things is going on right now is an attempt that they maintain their power and their status in a changing world. So yeah, it's important that we stand up, that we properly educate ourselves, and that we fight, we mobilize and fight. You know, the very formula for a movement is agitate, educate, organize, and mobilize. That's a simple formula. You agitate, you got to wake up the people. You got to shake them up out of their comfort zone. You know, you got to realize and understand that everything is not all great. It's not all good. So, you know, and once you get agitated, then it's time for their education. This is why things are not all good. This is the system that we've been under, that we've been lied about, that we've been saying this system is connected with freedom, when in fact it's connected with exploitation. It's connected with brutality, you know, and all of those negative things that are producing so many devastating effects on society and the world. And you know, once we educate them, then we got to organize. We got to get together, because, you know, we talk about this all the time. You can't do this by yourself. You know, Sister Atwater, you know, you got to have support. We got to have support. We are stronger than me. You know, the us is stronger than I. That whole individualism, that's a European concept. Y'all want to be an individual, do it by myself. No, we can't defeat this demon by ourselves. We have to have a collective effort. And then, once we organize, then it's time to go into action. It's time to fight. Time to fight. And Sister Adwa said, I'm willing to die, but I am willing to take many of those barbaric bloodsuckers with me. And well said, because when we say you got to be willing to die, I ain't talking about no suicide mission. You know what I'm saying? Like who was that say, Indo G, when I die, I'm taking 6 of y'all with me. But anyway, come, Red. We got a couple of more minutes before we have to get out of here. You have anything else you want to say?
Yes, organization means everything. If you don't, if you don't have confidence that the people will come to being part of organization, the people must be a part of organization. And if you don't, so therefore, you can't think that you're going to be able to be successful without the people. It's through the people that we're going to be able to organize and be able to defeat our enemy, through the people. But you got to have confidence in the people. You cannot allow yourself to be caught up in the midst of the enemy, that's the people. Because when we talk about those people, Fannie Lou Hamer, King, these are the people who are supporting these people. And so therefore their power, their strength came from the people. And once we understand that and go into community and organize our community and organize our youth, because it was the youth that were the spark of the of many of the movements that we talk about, and behind many of the people that we call leaders, even the ones that were assassinated, had to have support, and the youth were the main supporters of those folks. That's it.
Yeah, definitely gotta have organization. We gotta have that youth movement. We gotta bridge the gap between the elders and the youth. Because something devastating that has happened when you have a lot of so-called elders be like, I don't want to mess with them young folks. They call them YNs, which I think is a terrible way to call your young people YNs. You know what that stands for, young. But you got to call them YKs, young kings, young brothers, young some, not no YNs, But yeah, we definitely have to have that. And speaking of organization, here at the Republic of New Africa, we got an organization. We have programs going on. We have, this program called Work, Training, and Study, way to get properly educated, properly trained, so we can go out and do the work. And since, we own this, we might as well, drop our promo for it about our Work, Train, and Study program.
It's not good enough to simply want to build a nation. We have to put in the work. But how? What do we do? Where do we start? Work, study, and training. Work, Study, and Training is a program designed to equip you with the necessary knowledge and skills of nation building. We help you create units that will effectively do the work. Study. Gain a vital political education. Study the blueprints left to us by nation builders who came before us. Training. Not only learn how to build a nation, but learn how to protect and defend what we build. Work. Now it's time to apply what we've learned. If we want a nation, we have to build it.
Stop the talking, stop complaining, stop the fussing, stop all the blaming. Gotta get up, the world is changing. Let's build our nation. Work, study, training, reach elevation. Work, study, training, get liberation. Work, study, training, no hesitation. Work, study, training, to build a nation. Work, study, training.
If you want to start your own unit, just email us at pgunitstudy@gmail.com. Include your name, location, social media, and phone number. And together, We will build a nation. Free the land.
Free the land.
No doubt, no doubt. So, y'all hit us up. If y'all wanna join forces, organize, and and I'm pretty sure you're gonna hear a lot more that we're doing. We're really just getting back into the whole swing of thing about doing the whole live things, and so because we don't have a lot of things go on. My comrade, we ain't talked about it, but yeah, my comrade home and dwelling, complex just went up in smoke, went flying. He had to relocate. I'm sorry, a while. And how you doing? Anyway, comrade.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just telling them, how we trying to get back into the swing of thing. We're doing this on a regular basis, and we have all kind of obstacles. And I told them, about the fire in your place, how that happened. You had to relocate, and I was just asking how you doing, Yeah, and so we're really trying to do this more consistently, and I kind of like this later in the evening. We were doing it earlier in the day, but, in the evening it's kind of live. You have a little more participation, so I think that's wonderful. So I guess we might do this more often at Atwater. You can get more information about this sisters campaign at atwaterforgovernor.com. So, y'all visit it. I'm about to check it out as soon as we go off the air, and we're about to go off.
I think that'd be great.
Yeah, real soon. Any closing remarks before we go, comrade?
Other than to say that we, in other words, that what we're talking about is that people should be trying to make sure that we stay on top of what's going on, and so that we'll be. It's only when we are informed that we are able to organize our people and do the things that'll be necessary for us to free ourselves.
Definitely. So I want to thank everybody for checking in. Thanks for the likes. Thanks for the love. Thanks for y'all listening to the Voices of New Africa. And it's not just our voices. Thank y'all for lending your voices to the Voices of New Africa, because it's all of our voices. Oh, our comrade Hamisha Howard is just checked in. All right, good to hear from you, brother. Good night to you.
Who did?
Hamisha Howard, young Hamisha, Hamisha's son, the general's son, so okay. She said, why didn't you come to the brother? Why didn't you come to the cultural compound? I got you. So Atwater, I guess she opening up some resources for you, comrade. We're gonna have to make that connection, make that happen. So definitely, but it's time for us to get out of here. You're gonna hear from us again next week, same time, and like I said, Comrade Atiba. For y'all who remember him from Conversations Between Comrades, he gonna be back, because he getting his resources back up. So look out for him. As a matter of fact, I might as well leave you with something he did. This is the Voices of New Africa. We love y'all. See y'all again next week. Free the land, fam.
Free the land. Free the land.
Comrade Atiba reveals all the lies. Comrade Atiba will open your eyes. Comrade Atiba, the people's choice. Comrade Atiba, hear the powerful voice of Comrade Atiba.
I know people are responding to their conditions.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't give nobody a pass on the crime and bullshit that go on. All I'm saying is that this shit is planned this way. It's staged this way. It's set up this way. Everybody knows when you create a poverty situation and people's crime is going to be in the midst of that thing, man, and it's going to be at a high level. So all you got to do is look at the conditions of the people in Memphis. Then you'll understand that, damn, okay, no wonder they doing any damn crazy-ass thing and it's dangerous and shit like that. Look at the people, how they live in Memphis. Look at the job opportunities. All that shit has been stripped from the people out there. When you start making a living for yourself and doing well for yourself, you're not too quick to commit some type of crime to ruin your you know, what you got going on. It don't make sense. Look at the majority of people. They're just you know, economically sound. Like they ain't trying to fuck that up. You know, and that's what you got out there in Memphis. You got a lot of people that ain't economically sound. We understand that capitalism is like a pyramid shape. It has a large base and a small top. And a lot of people at the top doing a lot of good things, and in their world, they just shine and they looking good. And people at the bottom ain't looking too goddamn good. That's why you got Memphis the way it is. You can look at Memphis right now. Why Memphis has been in an economic deprived situation for some years now. But all of a sudden, Elon comes set up AI technologies up in that motherfucker, right? Right there in Memphis, and you got over 90% black population in Memphis. And he go and set up in South Memphis over there in Boxtown. Ain't got nail person out of Memphis working in it. But yet, the city of Memphis has to sue these people because of the toxic waste that he's pushing out from this plant that he's setting up. And toxic waste is killing people already now in this neighborhood. And it's going to spread past the neighborhood. The neighborhood is small. But Elon Musk don't give a damn. You know, he don't give a damn because guess what? It's poor people.
Come ride a T-Bar.